Hello everybody, we are back in my car for a literal backseat critique. We just saw Thunderbolts!
Whoa! I popped up unexpectedly, just like Bob.
Hagan's here too.
Unexpectedly in Backseat Critique on the Hagan channel, we have Hagan. And in the back seat, of course.
To be fair, we do control her channel. We could just take over it.
Now that's a thought. Say in the comments if you want to see us take over.
Or if you want them to end the channel completely.
Yeah, we could delete it. Let's not do that.
Yeah. Alright, so yeah, we just saw Thunderbolts. We're currently sitting at like the farthest corner of the parking area and looking like weirdos.
Over that way.
Talking to my dash cam.
Yeah, so let's start by just spoiler-free thoughts. I don't think you guys need us to give you an overview of the basics of the film.
There are the Thunderbolts!
Because it's like MCU and either you're caught up or you're not. So, Nicola, you want to give us your thoughts
first?
first?
This one didn't need you to be caught
It was
up.
alright.
It's not like this one, you didn't need to see the previous things.
Well, yeah,
to
that's
get
my point. We don't need to tell them anyway.
No, I'm saying the audience, if you haven't caught up with all the rest of them, this is one of the ones that you can step into and it's fine.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Anyway, thoughts?
It was alright. It was a generic Marvel film. It wasn't terrible, which some of the last ones who will remain nameless have been. But it also wasn't fantastic. It was... Marvel films are getting generic at this point, and it followed a 3-act structure. It was alright.
I disagree.
Go ahead then.
No, I thought it was great. I thought it was the best one since Guardians 3, and it is nice to see an MCU film once again try to be a little bit more than just a popcorn MCU film. Like, you know, the best MCU films, or at least the most memorable ones, tend to be something that mixes genres with something else, whether it's the, you know, space stuff for Guardians of the Galaxy, or the conspiracy thriller with, you know, Winter Soldier, stuff like that. They used to try to do all the time. And this one, it's very much MCU does an Oscar bait type thing, you know, about, you know, an Oscar drama type thing. And usually with these things, the trailer makes it look serious and dour and stuff, and then it's much sillier. In this one, the trailer was much sillier, and the actual film was much more serious. It's an interesting strategy. Let's see if it pays off.
Okay, your thoughts?
I'm right in the middle of you two. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was mediocre. I thought it was better than most of the recent Marvel films by a solid amount. Absolutely no way do I think this was Oscar bait, and no way do I put it at the top of the Marvel
I'm not
stuff.
saying it was Oscar bait.
But
it's like an Oscar bait film
this
done by the MCU.
This is my section.
No, you misunderstood
Don't you
me.
be talking over me here. The audience wants to hear what I think, not what you think. Anyway, now I don't even remember what I was going to say now.
You would never know they were siblings, would you?
Anyway, it was decent. I won't say a return to form, but it had its problems, it had its issues. But enjoyable. If you have the opportunity, get out there, especially if you have watched and enjoyed Marvel projects in the past.
What are David Harbour's 3 main roles that he's known for?
Who is David Harbour?
He played Red Guardian in this.
Okay.
He plays Sheriff Hopper in Stranger Things, and he was the first remake of Hellboy.
That's where I fucking know him from.
And he was Hellboy in the first remake of Hellboy, not the recent one, the one that came out like 5 years ago. Which means in Stranger Things, he got sent to Russia and he had a terrible time in a Russian prison. As Red Guardian, he got a terrible time in a Russian prison. Okay. So he was an American who went to Russia in a bad time, and this one, and then he was a Russian who went to America and had a bad time. But also, he's Red Guardian in this, but as Hellboy, he's also a Red Guardian. So apparently, his 3 big roles are like a Venn diagram.
He has a type. Red Guardians.
Who go between America and Russia and Europe and have a terrible time.
Okay.
Fair enough. So we're going to start venturing into spoiler territory now.
Yeah, spoiler time. Okay.
So we want to talk about the underlying message about how young men's mental health leads to destructive behaviour.
Yeah, I think young men is a big part of it, granted, but no, I'm going to disagree with that. it wasn't about young men's mental health. It was about mental health generally. Because Yelena had major underlying health issues in her mental side as well, which was reinforced very clearly in her past flashbacks
Use
as well.
therapy to punch villainy in the face.
Yeah, there was very clear message about
she had a family
you get
support
depressed,
network.
shit gets wrong, you need support from friends, from family, from whoever to break you out of it. And no matter how bad it gets, you can get out of it. Which I think is a nice underlying message, especially whenever you then have punched your demons in the face. People like to punch their demons.
Yeah,
but then you're not allowed to punch them, because if you keep punching them, then you become worse and you have to be hugged.
Well, that's just letting into the anger and destructive behaviour, I think.
Yeah,
but,
yeah, it was nice.
There was also the message of that sometimes your family is the reason and you should step away and rely on your found family, your friends. Because Yelena, she had her daddy. She had her little moment speaking with her daddy and getting a bit of closure and support there. Whereas his family, Bob's, was portrayed as being the source of his mental anguish.
And then you had Walker.
So he had to rely on his thing.
He was the one who had a terrible sort of work thing, and plus he's a murderer who killed that dude. And then
I still haven't watched the last part of that series.
Well, his shit from that he started taking out on his family. Therefore, you're showing the traumatizing thing from all the angles.
Well, he didn't take it out on his family. He wallowed in his self-pity and ignored his family.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's basically the.
He was the depression factor in that family.
So so you're seeing it from all the different angles with different characters,
which was a great thing to do. Tying that all together. Visualizing it as the Shadow Man in my mind
Noob Cybot
was very cool. Liked that. I particularly loved the subtlety of the eyes.
Those were really good.
nice.
That was a good effect.
And it just, you'd imagine that could have looked so bad, but it didn't. And the action of how it reacted with people when they got shadowified or dusted or whatever you want to go with.
The Hiroshima shadow effect.
And then the very slow spread out of destruction from it. Very nice. Love it. Love that.
See, in retrospect, you're making me like the film more.
I want to bring something in from the comics now. I'm not an expert on Sentry in the comics, but they took some elements and some other stuff that were not done from the comics. And there was no way they could have told the story they wanted to tell and done a comic accurate version of how Sentry was. I wish they had done that because it would be fantastic, but they didn't. In the comics, Sentry sort of turns up and he's like Superman and stuff like that, the golden god who's like all powerful and stuff like that. And then his arch enemy turns up as well, the Void, who is just all powerful as well. And so, they're fighting each other. Now, no one knows that they're the same person. And then it's revealed that Sentry has always been there in Marvel. This has always been a thing. We get flashbacks to various things in Marvel history of him being there. But what had happened was, after decades of Sentry doing this thing, they discovered that the Sentry and the Void were the same person. And so I think it might have been Doctor Strange. Someone came up with the idea of basically suppressing both I think they were different personalities, suppressing both the Sentry and the Void, and wiping everyone's memory from it to make sure that neither could come out, because one can't exist without the other. And so that created the version of the Marvel universe in the comics that we were familiar with. They could have done that in the films and seeing flashbacks to Sentry at the Battle of New York and stuff.
Not a chance. They couldn't have done it because they've already gone into that well recently with Endgame and with Spider-Man. Wiping people's memories and people from their past and going into the past.
I'm saying they could
it's too late. They already used that well.
They could have done it. But they didn't.
Physically they could have done it, but they couldn't have done it thematically, and they couldn't have done it without feeling like they're just doing a retread.
They could have found a way to do it. I think they could have, but there's no way they could have done it and done this story.
I do have one very important question, though.
Yeah.
Why do people still live in New York in this universe?
Hey, what I found was very odd is they came down from the Avengers Tower, and they're there. And they're having an argument, and half of them are in fucking superhero costumes, and they're arguing. And there's the guy, the old Captain America, who is very fucking famous. And everyone's just dandering on past,
To be
walking
fair-
back. I know it's New York, but
Yeah.
still. Also, a window further up just got blown out of the building. You'd imagine there'd be a bit more activity, a bit more, what's going on?
Okay, someone
Because they all then stop later and just look at this random shadow in the sky that's like 50, 60 levels up. You'd imagine people would even struggle to see that, let alone whenever...
My favorite extra did stop and look at them briefly. I wish more people did that. It would have been funny, but yes, someone did. But B, like you said, it's New York. C, Daredevil has established that New York has a lot of costume vigilantes running around, so people are probably tired of it. That's a running subplot there.
Yeah.
Like Fisk is elected on a thing of basically stopping the vigilantes and the costume people from running around. Like, zero tolerance for it. So I don't know when this and Daredevil are happening. So this might be before thing. But it is a thing in New York right now.
Sure, what about the absolute meme where they're on that scene where they're sitting in the street arguing? There's this extra who walks past and she gives the most beautiful, disgusted, inconvenienced Karen look as she walks past them and almost looks directly into camera going, oh.
That might be the one who I noticed. Who I liked.
It's just like, you need to be a meme. You're great. It's just like, oh.
So,
it's like, all these fucking vigilantes in the way again.
Now, we've talked a lot about the end parts of the film, and I want to talk about earlier in the film. I take definite issue with some of how they get to the point.
You hot?
I'm very hot.
I take issue with how they got to where they got to at the end. Particularly Elena's father coming into the story. He just happens to be the limo driver who happens to be taking what's her name and somehow tracks down exactly where Elena is, even though she's not at the place where it was mentioned.
I'm doing this again.
I know they said, I deliberately because I wanted to network, but that's a throwaway bullshit excuse for Deus Ex Machina.
That is not a Deus Ex Machina because it gives an explanation.
It's a bullshit explanation.
It's not a great explanation, but it is an explanation. And the second one, how did he track them down? He's probably got a tracker on her.
Much easier if that had been covered without that sequence. Much easier if it had been mentioned in their previous conversation. Or it would have been, or you could have had a alternative approach where Elena doesn't meet with him and we discover that he has been keeping direct tabs on her.
They've probably got tracking devices. He's probably, him and the family probably have tracking devices on each other just in case.
Honestly, I was expecting them to bring back the Uber joke because after they crashed the Jeep, Elena pops up and goes, "I'll call an Uber." So I was genuinely expecting a continuation of that joke with like, "This is the Uber." No.
The other big thing I took issue with was Bucky. So we are led to expect that
lack of Bucky's balls on screen.
We
wanted some Bucky balls up there.
We're not doing that argument again. Stop.
We are led to expect or to believe that he is a congressman. And this congressman is perfectly happy just crossing the country to track them down. First of all, how exactly did he track down them whenever they were going further away? We'll leave that one aside. Maybe he also has a tracker on it. Everyone has a tracker on these people.
Yes, I talk about how he casually murdered a bunch of guys.
He just casually murdered a bunch of U.S. people.
This complaint.
Come on. We led to expect it, but that's just the throwaway nature of these type of films.
This complaint would be far stronger if this was, several weeks ago before J.B. Vance allegedly did something to the Pope.
Are you suggesting Bucky murdered the Pope?
No, I'm suggesting that there's a meme going around that J.B. Vance killed the Pope.
I don't know how that has to do with the murder of U.S. soldiers.
American elected people can just kill people. That's what the internet says.
Okay, there's a difference between someone meeting the Pope and the Pope dying. And
Bucky met these people and they died.
Murdering a ton of U.S. soldiers very visibly, very trackably.
These guys just happened to die.
What was his end game? Get these guys to testify. Okay, Mr. Barnes, can you advise how you got these witnesses? Well, I did run into a convoy of U.S. soldiers who I had to murder to take them. Also, I destroyed their vehicle, which could have killed them at the exact same fucking time.
Can I also point out how the ending absolutely sinks the impeachment thing?
Oh, yeah.
And completely humiliates that senator who was walking up going, "We've got something juicy," and then nothing. That's his career over. That's the new bad guy.
His career's not over, but yeah, it's a detriment to him. But his career's not over.
I mean, he is now going to make it an absolute enemy out of Bucky. Is Bucky still a serving senator?
Apparently.
I'm confused as to why Bucky is still got 5 o'clock shadow constantly, because they're usually quite strict on what congressmen either have a beard or be clean shaven. They have a lot of peer pressure there. It's like not a law or rule, but it's peer pressure. He really should be clean shaven in this film and have shorter hair.
To be fair, I have known some people who have a 5 o'clock shadow an hour after shaving. I'm not even joking. Apparently, they shave and then their hair grows so thick and so fast they have a 5 o'clock shadow before bed.
Apparently, the super soldier serum did that to him because he was perfectly clean shaven in the first Captain America.
So let me talk about a couple of positives.
Yes.
So first and foremost, I was positively surprised at how they just killed off Taskmaster like that.
Fair.
It gave the feeling that there were actual stakes in the film. Granted, they then did nothing with it and made everyone else cartoon characters being smashed off everything with 0 stakes. Okay, but at the very beginning, they gave the impression that there are stakes by just killing off somebody right there and then.
Taskmaster can climb. She's the one that can climb anything.
Valentina was
Suicide Squad.
Very cartoon villainish.
Yeah.
And then at the end, with her pulling it around, with the very obvious, I'm going to speak loud to get their attention, and then I'm going to slip through this very obvious obstruction and be like, "Hi! Press conference!"
Silly. I mean, it plays into the humor side there, because obviously that was...
She already said that it was set up, because she was setting up to do
we got foreshadowing. But again, there were elements of comedy. Like, that is something that would not have worked in a serious film. And there were elements of comedy for it. This was not a laugh-a-minute type situation with quips all the time. But they did happen. And whenever they did, some of them I really did enjoy. Like how they escaped from the underground thing was just
ridiculous.
Silly ridiculousness that I was perfectly happy with.
Hey, Bob had a good idea.
He did. And then you had they were searching for the power source. And they find it. And it's like, okay, I can defuse this. And then just smash it with the shields. Like, that works. I like that type of thing when they give an expectation and then they subvert it right there and then. That's nice.
Now, do you know what the deal with the Thunderbolts in the comics was, though?
No.
Because this is very different from the comics.
I'm imagining it's relating to the Hulkman, the President Ross.
I think the name was taken from that. I'm kind of surprised they didn't. No one had a line about how they seem to be named after the ex William Hurt, but basically, in the when the Thunderbolts turned up, and this is a bit you could not do in the film, so I'm not complaining at all, but it was genius. This is the period Heroes Reborn. Basically, all the heroes, the Avengers, all Fantastic Four, all gone. They're dead. They're actually in a pocket universe, and they'll come back, but there's no more heroes. And they have the first issue of Thunderbolts, where
What's the Wii game got to do with this?
The Thunderbolts come. There's a disaster problem thing happens, and the Thunderbolts come in. Their leader is Citizen V, who's like a big all-American themed, and there's a guy who can grow giant. They have no origin. They just turn up and they save the day in a very, very typical 1960s kind of way. It's just a superhero thing. We're introducing a new team, all new, all better hero team, and they save the day, and it's great. Last page, it's revealed these are actually the Masters of Evil, an old villain team who have just decided to pretend to be heroes as part of a big villain plot. And they reveal that just to themselves, ha 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 ha. And then, of course, the plot going on is that some of them decide they like being heroes, and other ones want to continue being villains, and that's where the drama comes in. You couldn't do that in this.
It sounds like a mash between Syndrome from The Incredibles and Megamind.
A little bit.
What if I don't want to be the bad guy anymore?
Yeah, but you see how that's a really clever idea for a thing, but you couldn't do it in the live-action film.
What they've done, I liked, and I like the way they've actually leaned into the new Avengers. They changed the title card at the end. They did a time skip to clearly indicate that this is something they're going to run with for 16 months, and maybe it'll play into some of the television stuff.
And Infinity, the next Avengers film is going to start off with Doctor Doom kicking the shit out of them, probably killing Sentry, just to prove how powerful Doctor Doom is instantly. because, you know, he's going to be the big villain, and because Doom will just use sorcery on him, because he's not only like cyborg dude, he's also a sorcerer.
Because, of course, the after credit sequence plays directly into Fantastic Four and what's happened there.
Yeah, so they'll be a Loki and Hulk and Thor at the start of Infinity War. You know, when Thanos came in.
Which will be a nice way to lay out stakes, which they can then forget about.
And show how powerful Doom is.
Yeah, true. But, yeah, so, that's alright film. I recommend go see it in the cinema, it's fun. Any other thoughts you want to wrap up with?
I enjoyed it. I was rather amused at the heroic ending of this film is basically the same as the Red Dwarf episode when they're in Rimmer's subconscious and they have to make him feel better to escape. That was pretty funny.
Group hugs all around.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But I'm highly amused that over the course of this review, my glasses have been getting clearer and clearer and clearer. I had sunglasses when we started.
Did anyone else notice that the American TV presenter from the Fantastic Four trailer, because we saw that on the thing, that's Mark Gatiss from the League of Gentlemen, who played Mickey and the tall thin one. That's who that is.
Didn't pay any attention.
Also a New Who writer, Mark Gatiss.
But yeah, enjoyable. Go and watch it if you're at all interested in Marvel things. It isn't a complete steaming pile of shite. It is well worth giving a wee watch.
And are you looking forward to the Fantastic Four?
I am looking forward to the Fantastic Four, especially if it ends the way I'm expecting it to end. I particularly love the futurism feel to it. But this isn't about the Fantastic Four. We'll talk about that in July.
Yeah, well, has Pedro Pascal in it, so obviously it's going to be amazing. It's not just to stare at him.
All right. Shout out the normal stuff.
Alright, check the description, the doodly-doo for the Discord and the Patreon and the other reviews and all those shiny things where you'll get to see...
subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe, comment. See and spot the exact moment my glasses no longer became sunglasses.
Oh, you know the irony in Fantastic Four? For years I've been saying I wanted Ralph Ineson to play Doctor Doom, okay? Because he's a really good voice. He's got really deep Yorkshire voice, even though Dr. Doom's from Latveria, but he's got a really good resonant voice, and I think he'd be fantastic. And of course, he's not playing Dr. Doom, because, you know, they're silly in that way, but he is playing Galactus.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
A Yorkshire Galactus?
Have you seen The Witch? Have you seen The Witch?
No.
Or The Green Knight?
No.
God damn it.
That's on my list. I should.
He was in the early British version of The Office with a really deep, resonant voice.
Fair enough. So anyway, comment, like, subscribe, subject this to other people. If you'd like to see us more, check out the other reviews, and you might even see this one occasionally.
Occasionally. I mean, she never pops up in these ever, do you?
No.
See? She's already gone.
Alright, well, I'm going to go home now because people are starting to look at us talking to the dash cam.
We're going to watch a video.
Yeah, we're going to watch Dr. Sleep and then record a Backseat Critique for it, which you might see in a few months' time.
We have no idea when that's going up.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye.